There's a good chance this video gets me in a little bit of trouble because as a retailer, we shouldn't be picking favorites. However, I don't really care right now because this knife is so fantastic and deceptively good that I want to share it and let you know that it's reached probably my top 3 or 4 favorite knives that I have in my entire 400 or so knife collection. So what do I have here? This is the Hatsukokoro Kumokage Honesuki, coming in at 5.9 inches or 150 millimeters. Out of Tosa, Japan, we have a hand-forged Sanmai blade. The core is Awagami Blue No. 2 carbon steel, coming in at a 61 to 62 Rockwell. The cladding is soft iron Damascus with a Kurochi finish, and the entire blade is carbon steel. This also has a lacquered finish with the hand-engraved Hatsukokoro on the right side of the blade. And as a Honesuki, this is a double bevel, even 50-50 grind. We have an octagonal walnut handle with a buffalo horn ferrule. And the spine thickness is coming in at 4.3 millimeters at the heel. So when I say it's thick, I mean it's thick. It's twice as thick as most gyutos, let alone shorter, more prep size type of knives. And as a Honesuki, you've got that thick spine to be able to use as leverage to push meat around when you're breaking down chicken or popping off knuckles. You've got that stability there. But the geometry and the blade thickness, they almost don't match. It's so thick, and for the height of this, it's deceptively good. It just flows through product. I've been using this last couple of nights and I don't get excited over every single knife that I have. I just don't. I have certain preferences, and that's just being realistic. This I got excited about. I may or may not have a thing for prep blades / Honesuki style prep knives, so maybe that's just it. It's what suits my fancy. So what I'm gonna do here is break down, prep some ingredients for dinner tonight. I will say this, cutting into an apple, something that's real high up, 2.5, 3 inches off the cutting board, that is where you will get some bit of a wedging type of an effect. If you were to cut into a sweet potato with this, you might see some splitting in the inside where your slice is not just a smooth slice. And it's because of the fact that the height of the blade and the thickness at the top. But for most other ingredients, even a small carrot, as you will see, are going to be totally fine. So let's break this down and just get right into it. Gonna do a little pepper julienne. Beautiful. I have to keep my area here mostly clear so I don't mess up with my focus. I tell you, it just flows. The blade curvature is a little bit more curvy than I would say other Honesuki knives that I have that have a little bit straighter of an edge profile. And although I'm probably not going to do it in this video, last night I was messing around with a little bit of a rock chop, and I just wanted to see how it would feel on a soft board. And it worked because of the weight of the knife. You don't really need to put much force into the product. So with that, you're not pressing hard into the board. And for a Japanese knife coming in at that 61 to 62 Rockwell, you're right on that cusp of you probably shouldn't do the rock chop just so you don't destroy the blade. A little here and there, you're going to be fine on the right board. But I have a feeling that this blade would be totally fine for rock chopping when needed. If you've got some green onion, some scallion, chives, just some fresh herbs, a little bit you need to do, I think you'd be good to go. Out of the box, this was pretty sharp. All I have done was strop this, well, after each time I've used it, which would have been twice. Okay, so the carrot. I'm gonna do a quicker tap chop right on down through here in coins. Now, right about here is where you would start to feel that wedging effect with most knives that are this thick. I'm just gonna go a little slower so you can see and hear. Nothing. It just goes through super smoothly. Onion Julienne. So if you were to do a slower push chop, you wouldn't have the onions kind of flailing everywhere like this. But to be honest with you, I enjoy doing the tap chop. Some people cringe with a Japanese knife that you're tapping it into the board. Well, you know what? If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But I enjoy doing it. It's faster. Sometimes it's a little bit messier. It depends on the knife. The shorter the knife, you'll generally see more of that flailing about. And if you're worried about the blade getting dull, well, just sharpen it. So something high, let's see how this does with the onion. Pretty good. I didn't feel like any type of splitting that can happen with a firmer ingredient, but it's still higher up. But again, when you're cutting an onion in half one time, it's not like you're, well, if you're food prep and you're blasting through onions for your shift, you're probably not using a knife like this anyway. But even if you do get that tight little wedge that can happen with something that is thick like this, it's really just not a big deal. Little push chop here. You can see how a little bit more control over where my onions go. And just slowing down a bit. The lettuce here. We like romaine nice and thin. Notice how I am holding the handle right here. That is not technically a proper pinch grip because I'm not on the blade like this. But when I choke up on a knife that is shorter like this, I am losing a little bit of basically blade space because it's not very high. So I can't really use the back of the blade when my thumb is right there. So I'm essentially doing the pinch grip, and it depends on what I'm cutting, but I'm just back on the, well, not back on the handle, but at the very top of the handle. Still have that same control as if I'm on the blade, and with a smaller knife, you don't really realize it. I wouldn't do that with a full-size gyuto or a bunka or anything like that, but for a shorter blade like this, just consider that when you're pinched up too far, you're losing cutting space because your thumb is in the way. A little rock chop. I think part of the reason that I enjoy these smaller knives is the first time that I got a Honesuki, which was the Shun Classic Honesuki, coming in at only 4.5 inches. I used to give myself the challenge of trying to prep entire multi-course meals with just that blade. I went from using 10-inch Wusthof and Zwilling chef's knives to that little nugget, and I loved it. So it was just a challenge for me, and since then I've been hooked on petty knives that have a decent heel, something like this Enzo here, more on that in another video, or the Honesuki, the Kobunka, like this Hatsukokoro Kumokage, 4.7 inches. That's a real fun one to prep with. Something about these smaller blades I just really enjoy. Okay, I'm going to slice up some chicken and wrap up this video. It's $160 normal price. For a hand-forged carbon steel Damascus cladding, real wood handle, traditional Japanese blade, I think it's a steal. If you're slicing chicken thin for, say, like what I'm doing with cheesesteaks, do the breast side down, so the skin side down. That way you can see the graining in the chicken breast because it moves, it kind of fans out, and when you split the breast like I just did there, you'll be able to see all, well, you can see it without splitting it, but splitting it makes it easier to cut it so I don't have giant, long, thin slices, but you can see the graining in the meat. So then when you go to cook it for a chicken breast, it's not going to get as chewy and firm. And when you're cutting them this thin, they cook very quickly. So you're going to essentially get some that are overcooked, which is, you know, part of what American cheese is for. And you can see, cutting against the grain here will give you a nice tender bite, even above 165 degrees. So, who's this knife for? People who love knives. That's pretty much it. Okay, so I will say that push motion with the slice, because of the curvature of the blade coming up here, I'm only given this much contact with the cutting board. So I would say from a slicing perspective for this Honesuki, I would definitely do the pull like that because I'm able to utilize the tip of the blade connecting with the cutting board. So if you do want to do something like this with your brand new Hatsukokoro Kumokage 5.9 inch number 2 blue Awagami carbon steel Honesuki, now you know how to do it. Okay, I'm not gonna just sit here and make you watch me slice up chicken for my cheesesteaks. I think you get the gist. It's an awesome knife. It's versatile. You can tap chop, you can do a push chop, you can slice, you can almost do basically a chiffonade with a little tiny bit of rock chop. Just don't cram it into your board. Let the weight of the knife work in your favor. Is there going to be some minor splitting with taller, firmer product like an apple, sweet potato? Regular potato, you might be able to get away with it because they're wet and dense enough. They're not like an apple or a sweet potato or squash or something like that. So just accept that it can happen. But if it's something that you're not going through a ton of apples or a ton of sweet potatoes, then this will do the trick. That's it. It's made my favorite list. The Hatsukokoro Kumokage. I'm Chef Brandon with Cutlery More. Thanks so much for tuning in, and this will be linked in the description below. Take care.